Oculus, a company that is helping people bridge into the virtual world with headsets of state-of-the-art technology. But yes, they are, however, owned by the geniuses of social interaction, the invention of the poke, Facebook, which has now rebranded the Oculus company as Facebook Reality Labs. This is not a joke. This is real. Let's begin. So yeah, the truth behind why they're wanting to rebrand their VR division under this Reality Labs thing with this whole triangle in the section. Do you want us to think you're in the Illuminati? It's almost as if Facebook is leaning into conspiracy theorists. They're like, hey, that Zuck guy, he seems fishy. I think he's part of the Illuminati. Let's change our logo to a triangle. But no, that's not it. Honestly, I think it's Facebook's desperate attempt to become relevant again, because in case you weren't aware, before they made this change, they actually went back on something when it comes to using Oculus and their headsets in their online store that originally Facebook said was not going to be a problem. So they went back on their word, but I think most people expected that of them. Essentially, before you could just have an Oculus account and log into it with your email and password. It was very, very simple. But then Facebook came along, Zuckerberg was looking at his percentage of relevancy in the world and realized not enough people love me. And not enough people know that Facebook owns Oculus, which is important. Everyone needs to know this. So they decided to go back on their word and say, you know what? Actually, if you want to log into your Oculus account, if you want to use Oculus technology, you're gonna have to have a Facebook account. You're going to have to log in directly through Facebook, kind of doing the exact reverse of what Google did with Google Plus and YouTube. They were like, successful social media, let's buy it so we can call it ours. Let's create our own social media that's cringy and weird that no one wants to use and force them together, because that's what social media users care about the most, right? Being forced to do what big tech companies want you to do. So yeah, that's what they did. They're now enforcing it. You have to go through Facebook to log in with Oculus, which is absolutely a big turnoff for a lot of people because Facebook has, I mean, it's fair to say in more recent years, become less relevant, become less interesting to people if you're under the age of 30. You know, back when I was a kid, which makes me old to say, but there was a time when Facebook was actually cool. I remember adding friends on there and we played Crazy Planets and Pet Society and Farmville. It was a simpler time, you know. The NSA was spying on us just as much, but it felt more innocent, you know. It felt like we were just telling everybody happy birthday and sending them virtual cakes and poking each other and sending friend requests to people we recognize. But then it became so popular with older demographics and older generations that all of the teens didn't want to be posting stuff that their grandma was going to be commenting on, so they were like, screw this, let's move to some other social media that's a bit more complicated and a bit more for the younger generations, and Facebook can, you know, keep the Karens and everything over there. You know, it's division. It kind of divides people up between demographics of who's comfortable with what, but at the end of the day, people, I think, are happier that way. But Mr. Zuck is not happy about that. Not at all. He saw his relevance meter at around 18.9%, and he wants it to be somewhere around 35 to 37% when it comes to social medias out there. So he cooled off his internal computer and then decided, let's start slapping the Facebook logo across more things. So that's why when logging into Instagram and stuff now, you see like, buy Facebook. Remember guys, Instagram is Facebook. Don't you forget it. And that's why they're doing this whole thing with Oculus now as well, which I think is going to push a lot of people towards the Vive. A lot of these headsets are very capable and have a lot of advanced technology in them, but if people know that they're going to have to keep around their account that their grandma is going to wish them happy birthday on once a year, that's just too much for us, right? So that's likely going to end up in people being like, well, I'll just get a Vive because I don't want to keep my Facebook account around, and I don't want Zuckerberg staring through my headset all the time and knowing exactly what I'm doing whenever I'm wearing a headset, because as we all know, Facebook cares ever so much about privacy. So much about privacy, in fact, that they are very, very mad at Apple for removing their geo-tracking data capabilities, because apparently Facebook is mad that iOS 14 exposes apps that are tracking your location and keeping tabs on you. Dang it! I'm sorry, Facebook. There goes a lot of your revenue. But yeah, Facebook Reality Labs is just such a base template name. It totally sounds like something Zuckerberg would come up with. New name for my Oculus company today. This is my favorite one so far. Great job, team. Despite Zuck himself even putting tape across his webcam. Even Mark cares about privacy, but he's mad that iOS 14 also cares about privacy. So I think this is a big mistake. I wish they would have just kept it as Oculus. Luckily, in the meantime, they can continue calling the actual hardware, you know, the Oculus Rift, the Oculus Go. They can keep those around, but something tells me Facebook's gonna creep up on those someday too. Probably next year we'll start seeing the Facebook Reality Lab headset. Why don't they just paste Zuckerberg's eyes on the headset while they're at it? But what do you guys think of this name change? Is there a good idea in the middle of this that I'm missing? Feel free to let me know. This is your Help Sheep here. I'll see you in the next one.